What's up, guys? It's Gambino here, back at it. Today I have a quick settings video for you for PS5. I've been telling a lot of my boys that I play with to update their settings to the way that I have them in order to get better graphics and just overall better gameplay. The game just feels a little bit smoother and just feels a little bit better when you're playing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. You're going to go over to your settings. We're going to start with the graphics settings. Okay. This first one here, on-demand texture streaming, go ahead and turn that off. I think by default it's on. You want this off though. Basically what this does is it's downloading textures as you're playing. So you're actually experiencing hitching, a little bit of hitching and a little bit of delay without you even knowing it. If you turn this off, you'll see how much smoother your game actually runs. Next up, the world motion blur. Turn this off. You don't want your screen blurring as you're moving left to right, front to back, things like that. That's what this does. Go ahead and turn that off. Your weapon motion blur as well. You see on the left screen, you see how much clearer it is when it's not when it's turned off, as opposed to when it's turned on. It's really blurry. Turn your film grain all the way down. You don't want it looking all pixelated and stuff like that, looking like a Nintendo 64. So turn the film grain all the way down. Highly recommend you do this, as well as your depth of field. By default, this is turned on. Go ahead and turn this off. What this does is it kind of helps your depth of field a little bit when you're aiming down sight by blurring the outsides. So turn this off. You don't want anything blurring the sides because it may cause you a gunfight. You may not see the person coming from your right or to your left. You may not see an enemy coming on either side because it's blurred out of focus. So turn this off. Highly recommend you turn your Fidelity FX cast on. Okay, this is gonna really make your game look really sharp, really bright, really nice. I have mine set at an 85 strength. This is personal preference. I wouldn't suggest going any lower than maybe 70. But you can crank it all the way up if you want, all the way to 100. I just personally like it the best for my eyes at 85. It's the exact sharpness I like. I also tweak my monitor a little bit with the saturation and the contrast and the sharpness on my monitor. So 85 is where I like it. Again, personal preference, totally up to you. Eco mode preset, turn this off. I don't know why this is in the game. This is basically just power efficiency. And with the PS5, it's not really drawing too much power anyways. Just turn this off. 120 hertz refresh rate. This is important. Okay, and I'll tell you it's important because my specific monitor, the only way I get 165 hertz, I have a 165 hertz monitor, but the only way I get 165 is through DisplayPort. And I didn't know that until I plugged in my PS5 via HDMI. Now, some monitors out there, you may get it through HDMI, but my specific one was through DisplayPort. It's important that you have 120 hertz refresh rate on, and check with your monitor if you're on a monitor. Hit the settings button, and it'll tell you whether you're at 60 hertz or 120 hertz or 144 hertz, 165 hertz, whatever it may be. Um, but if you do have an issue like mine, where my monitor only went through DisplayPort, there's an adapter that you can buy on Amazon, which will give you the HDMI to DisplayPort kind of like adapter. So my PS5 has an adapter that goes into HDMI, and then I can plug in my DisplayPort through that, so I can get the full 120 hertz refresh rate. FOV by default, this is on 80. Crank it all the way up to 120. It's a little bit of a learning curve. If you are default at 80, I suggest maybe turning it up to 105. Try 105 for a while, see how you like it. I personally went straight to 120, and I've never gone back. Like 120 is where it's at. You're gonna feel like you're moving way faster, way smoother. You're gonna see more of the map. You're gonna see more enemies, left, right, front, back, up, down. 120 is where it's at. Highly recommend you do this. Totally up to you, personal preference. I wouldn't go any lower than 105 personally. 115, 110 to 115 seems to be the sweet spot for most average players. I would say I'm a little bit of an above average player. I'm not the best. I'm not the worst. But I crank it up to 120. I personally like it. I've been at 120 ever since, and I leave it there. Third person field of view, I think default's at 80. I left it at 80. Um, this is also important. First person camera movement. Turn this to least. This is gonna lower your screen shake as you're moving and going through gunfights and things like that. At default, it's at 100. Lower it. Lower it all the way to 50. Least 50. You'll see a lot less screen shake, okay? Same thing with third person. There's really no third person in this game, so it doesn't matter. Inverted flashbang. What this does is instead of it turning your screen white when you get flashed, it turns it black. I personally like it when it goes white because when I play on PC, I had this inverted flashbang on, and I felt like every time I got flashbang, I thought my game basically crashed. So I'm used to it being on white. I leave this at default. I just leave it off. All this other stuff I left at default. Brightness, I have it at 53. Personal preference, up to you. Some people say crank it up to 55. Some people say leave it at 50. Just go with what it says here. Make sure that that middle number 2 column says, where it says barely visible, make sure it's barely visible. It's up to you. If you want to crank it up a little higher, then crank it up a little higher. That's personal preference. Do what you do. Safe area. Bring this all the way in. All the way down, all the way left, bring it all the way in. Basically what this does is it brings your screen in so that your HUD, basically your heads-up display, your little mini-map on the left-hand corner, comes in closer to your screen so you're not having to look all the way up to the left. Brings it a little closer. It's just better. Again, personal preference. I prefer it this way. I think it's better this way. Up to you. All right, so that covers the graphics settings. Now go over to audio. Put this on soundbar. Soundbar is by far the best for PS5. You'll get the best balancing of footsteps, and it'll bring down a little bit of like the airstrikes and the mortar strikes and all that good stuff that you don't really want to hear in the background. It'll bring those down a little bit. It'll bring up your footsteps a little bit. Soundbar is the best. I've tested them all. Soundbar by far is the best. Headphone bass boost will probably be a second best for me, a very close second, but soundbar's the way to go. All right, other than that, this is all personal preference. I mess with my mic levels just because I don't want to be too loud, and I turn down my actual chat volume because I don't want other people to see my chat volume's at 12. People have a tendency of screaming and yelling and getting pissed off, and I don't want to hear all that stuff because then I won't be able to hear footsteps. So I turn it down to 12. Sometimes I go down as far as like 2 or 4. Personal preference to your ears for your audio, up to you. Next thing, this is very important. Interface. All right, this is the nitty gritty for the graphics and the colors. Okay, you're gonna come down to color customization. All right, right here where it says HUD color palette, it says custom. I personally like Tritanopia. Okay, Deuteranopia is very good also. I wouldn't mess with Protanopia. It's a little bit more like, and almost like there's more whites and it's kind of washed out. Deuteranopia definitely brings out more of your deep colors. Um, but Tritanopia is going to bring out your yellows and your reds and stuff like that. And especially on Rebirth, Tritanopia, in my opinion, is the best one. So put it on Tritanopia. Now, when you switch this, it's going to change all of your colors up. So just remember this, okay? So Tritanopia, again, my favorite. Use this. I'm telling you, world of difference. Um, just make sure, because I think it changes your enemy color. It may or may not change it. I don't know if Deuteranopia changes it or Tritanopia changes it. One of them changes it to yellow. Just make sure you come back in here and you turn this back to either red or, I've tried them both. I like them both. I like the red better just because it stands out more. But this magenta pink right here, this pink, it also stands out really well on your mini map. I would go either red or pink. Up to you. But I'm sticking to red. I also turn the red, the saturation, and the brightness all the way up just so that it's really, really bright and it really stands out. Okay? So make sure you change that if that changes because that's important. And then for your squad member colors, by default, I believe they are green, yellow, blue, and purple. I've already made the changes So, but when you change that HUD color palette, it's going to change all of these squad members, okay? Now, you only need 1 through 4 because when you play quads, Warzone only goes up to quads either way. So, 1 through 4. So, 1 being green, 2 being yellow, 3 being blue, 4 being purple or pink, whichever one you want. Most people say pink. I like it purple. So I set it to green, yellow, blue, purple. That's what it's always been for me, and that's what I'm sticking to. This way, there's no confusion when you're in game with randoms. You know, because once you switch it to Tritanopia, like I said, it's going to switch all these colors. You're going to be very confused. You're going to be calling out orange or something. They're not going to know what you're talking about. So 1 green, 2 yellow, 3 blue, 4 purple. Okay? Do that. Minimap should be at square. Minimap rotation on. Horizontal compass on. I like the horizontal compass. I use the horizontal compass to see where people are shooting from. This compass goes at the top of your minimap or the top of your screen next to your minimap. And what it does is whenever there's shooting going on, you'll see little red dots pop up. And that'll give you an idea of where people are. A lot of people don't use this. I take advantage of it. This is how I know, hey, there's people over here in Stronghold or whatever. You know, they're shooting at this area. And that's how I find out, especially if they're not silenced, it'll pop up right on there just like it would on your mini map. But if you're nowhere in that area and it's not popping up on your mini map, this will still show where people are shooting from. So, that being said, go down to your crosshairs. Make sure your crosshairs are on static. Okay? What this does is as you're moving and you're trying to aim at people and you're centering, coming around corners, this keeps your crosshairs still instead of it swaying, and you don't even realize it's doing it. But once you switch it, you'll notice the big difference. Put them on static. Trust me, leave them on static. Come down, put your center dot on, and put it to largest. Okay, this will help you immensely with centering. Okay, and centering is the biggest thing for aim, for movement. If you don't have good centering, you're going to lose a majority of your gunfights. Just heads up. I'm just being honest with you. Work on your centering and you will win more gunfights. I promise you. So, crosshair static, center dot on, center dot scale to largest. Okay? A lot of people tend to look at the floor as they're running around and then they have to bring their gun up. And by that time, you've already been shot 3 times and you lose the gunfight and you wonder why you lost. And then you say they're hacking. No, it's because your centering is terrible. Work on your centering. Use that center dot. I'm telling you, it's helped me immensely. So, that being said, turn this on. You'll win more gunfights. Get better at centering. All right? Other than that, I'm pretty sure that's all for this area. And that's pretty much it, I believe. If you go over to controller, what I will recommend, mine's a little bit high. I work on 10.6 with 0.85 multiplier. However, I did change this, the aim response curve. I'm gonna get a lot of heat for this, but linear for me is the stickiest. I'm telling you, stop using dynamic. Dynamic is not where it's at unless you're a pro player. Dynamic's not where it's at, man. If you're an average player who plays at a 4.4, 5.5, 6.6 sensitivity area, turn it to linear and turn your response curve down to a 0.85 and you will feel like you have aimbot. I promise you. Make sure it's on instant instead of gradual. Put it on linear, 0.85, instant. I promise you, you feel like you have aimbot. Also, target aim assist. By default, this is on. Leave it on. Don't even touch this, please. I'm going to work on a whole tutorial as to how to warm up and turn this target aim assist off to get your aim better. But until that's done, leave this on. Don't touch it. Aim assist type, Black Ops. So, with linear at a 0.85 curve scale, instant transition timing, and Black Ops, not default, not precision, not focusing, Black Ops. Trust me. Change it. Put it on this. World of difference. Okay? All right. Next, automatic tac sprint. I think it was last week or the week before, there was a glitch in the game where you couldn't reload. The reload animation was all messed up with automatic tac sprint. You had to change it, this, that, and the next. It's working again, folks. It is back, better than ever. It is working again. Now, the interact behavior, that's still kind of glitchy. I'm pretty sure the devs are working on fixing that. However, turn your automatic tack sprint on, slide maintain sprint on. This is going to help you immensely with dead slides. So if you were one of those that try to slide around corners every once in a while, you get caught off, you're like, oh my God, I'm not sliding. Turn this on. This will help with your dead slides. It'll keep you in tactical sprint as soon as you come out of a slide, you'll go back into tactical sprint. Not all the time, most of the time, but turn this on. It'll help with dead slides. And then turn this from single tap run to single tap sprint. Okay? Even though you have automatic tactical sprint on, every once in a while, for whatever reason, your tactical sprint won't initiate. Single tap that left trigger, or not the left trigger, but the left L3 button. Single tap that, you'll go right back into tactical sprint. And then grounded mantle. I like it on. Like I said, I'm an above average player. This does have a huge learning curve because what this does, especially on Rebirth where there's like little ledges and windows, sometimes people have problems jumping in and out of them. I don't have an issue with that anymore with Ground and Mantle. You initially will just be zooming around the map. As soon as you go to leap through that ledge or leap through that window, you're going to go right through it. Okay. Now, that being said, this also could work against you. When you try to hide behind a box or hide behind a ledge or something, you will automatically be mantling on. So if you're not prepared for that, just beware. But if you can turn this on and get used to it, I'm telling you, you will be moving around like a sweaty monster. Okay? Slide and dive behavior, turn this to slide only. Hybrid is for more experienced players. I've tried all of them. Tap to slide is not where it's at. Tap to dive is not where it's at. You don't want to be diving in Rebirth Island anyways. You don't want to be diving on Rondo anyways. Just no tap to slide. Slide only is where it's at. If you can actually pull it off, use hybrid. I go back and forth between them. I personally like slide only the most. Every once in a while I'll go on hybrid, especially if I'm playing on Vondo, because there's nothing better than diving off of those rooftops. But if you're an average player, put it on slide only, leave it on slide only. Okay. Other than that, that's basically the most important things I think. Um, Again, go through the settings, go through the graphic settings, change this to linear with Black Ops 0.85 instant and automatic tack sprint on and slide maintain sprint on. Okay. That's basically it. That'll do it for me. I hope you guys have a great time playing Warzone 3 and Modern Warfare 3, whatever your poison is, up to you. Anyways, I appreciate you guys watching, and I will catch you on the flip side. Peace.